So I made a video earlier this week talking about the Oni masks, and it was quite well received. I actually really do appreciate that video, and I like that you guys also enjoyed it. And if you haven't seen it, also please check it out, which is very shameless of me, but here we go. But like I said, the thing is that those videos spark a lot of interest and discussion, and when you guys seem to enjoy those videos, it does make me want to discuss other specific aspects of Ninjago more, and also just discuss the theories regarding them. So in reaction to the Oni masks video, it made me think about more artifacts within Ninjago, and there was one other artifact that I was thinking of that's also a personal favorite of mine that I did want to discuss with you, and that is of course the Sword of Sanctuary. But before we do go into the Sword of Sanctuary, if you guys have any other weapons or artifacts or locations about Ninjago you want specific videos on, please let me know, because these videos are really fun. But I have something very specific to talk about when it comes to this very sword in question, because it is potentially one of the most unique weapons in Ninjago. And for anyone who doesn't know, for one, you're living under a rock, because if you like Ninjago and you don't know what the Sword of Sanctuary is, I'd be very surprised, because it came from one of the most iconic seasons from the show, which is Season 5. But for those of you who don't know it, it is a sword that could see the future and could foresee the opponent's next attack. And that is a very broken ability, to say the least. But yes, it is a weapon that could see the opponent's next move, and to say the least, it is the biggest advantage you could possibly have in a fight, because you would know exactly what to do before your opponent even does it. And we can see Moro use it effectively, we saw Lloyd use it effectively, Ronan use it as well. It's just a very interesting weapon, but there are some parts of it that are a little bit ambiguous, to say the least. But what do we know about this weapon so far anyways? We know that it was the weapon that was able to see where the final resting place of the first Spinjitzu Master was, and the sword itself was stored in presumably one of the highest towers of the Cloud Kingdom. And when the ninja, or more specifically Moro, went to take it, and the event of possession took place, it was then placed to rest in the vault in Hiroshi's Labyrinth, and then later Borg's Tower, and it was just comfortably sat there, not to be used until Season 10. And what happened in Season 10, are you asking? Well, Lloyd tried to use it against the Omega, but it painfully failed, and that is where it led to the idea that there are certain users who are actually immune to the effects of the sword, which is a very interesting thing to think about. But after this use from Lloyd, we no longer see the Sword of Sanctuary from this point onwards, and is presumably still under the possession in Borg's Tower. So that is all we really see of the sword throughout the event of the series, but it's not what we see in the series is what this video is about. Because, in my opinion, there are lots of things we don't actually know about the sword. We do know things about it, but not everything. So, what do we actually know in terms of its abilities? Well, apart from its ability to foresee the opponent's next attack and the location of the first Spinjitzu Master, the only other thing we know on note is that it does have the ability to harm ghosts, which is a very interesting ability because it's not one that you would expect it to have, and it also shares no commonality with anything else that can harm ghosts, mainly the fact that it's not actually made of deep stone. So it's a bit of an interesting thing to see, but also, hey, it can do it. That's probably just down to possession. But that is the only other ability. But let's lead into the two main things that I have a theory about when it comes to this sword, and let me know if you do agree with this. The first one, which I think is a bit more likely, I do think that the sword has one other person that cannot foresee its attacks. Because as we know, the Omega is immune to the effect of the Sword of Sanctuary, and it would be a bit interesting if he is exclusively the only one who can do this. So, I would like to present the other person who might be immune to the sword, and that is of course the first Spinjitzu Master. Because this sword clearly has a link to him, or while we don't have outright proof that he once possessed the sword or he was the owner of the sword, which I'll get into, it does seem to be that that sword has a connection to him in some way, because it quite literally was able to locate the first Spinjitzu Master. So, I would like to think that to an extent, the first Spinjitzu Master is also someone who is immune to the weapon. And I'm gonna be honest, for that theory, that's essentially it. I do feel like the first Spinjitzu Master is someone who would be able to avoid said abilities. But, what do you guys think of this theory? Because I do think it is fairly valid, and I do think to an extent it would make sense. But let me move on to the one that I wanted to talk about more. And that being, we don't actually know the definitive owner of the Sword of Sanctuary. We know that the Cloud Kingdom protected the sword and they stored the weapon, but we do not know where the sword actually originated from. And of course, it does seem to have some sort of significance because of course it goes to the first Spinjitzu master. But I would like to present who it may have actually belonged to. And that, my friends, is Quanish. And why do I think it was Quanish the Elder? Well, there is a few different reasons that I would like to present to you. One, he was in the Cloud Kingdom. He was originally a monk of the Cloud Kingdom. So, he was in the location where the sword was held. Number two, he has some sort of ability of foresight. He was able to see into the future because he was the one who predicted that the Acolytes of Spinjitzu would actually be able to defeat the Crystal Army. He outright predicted that the ninja would be able to defeat them with the ability of Dragon Form. So he clearly has an ability to see to the future. And the last one is that he very clearly has a relationship with the Spinjitzu Master as well. Because we know in definitive history that Quanish was summoned to the grasslands where the first Spinjitzu Master was multiple times to be able to finally lay to rest. But Quanish continuously didn't accept that offer because he thought he had another purpose in the mortal world. But the point is that he had a clear relationship and a connection with the first Spinjitzu Master. And in my opinion, the first Spinjitzu Master would definitely trust someone who he considers good enough of a friend to be able to send him to his plane. So, would the first Spinjitzu Master have entrusted someone that ability to their weapon? Probably. But like I said, those are the three main things that make me think that maybe the first Spinjitzu Master was actually the owner of the Sword of Sanctuary. And when he left the Cloud Kingdom, maybe they simply just kept the sword. And you know what? A little bonus theory that's not in the script, because why not? I did actually mention that the Sword of Sanctuary had the ability to harm ghosts, but it is not made of deep stone. So, how do we explain away the sword's ability? Because like I said, we know for a fact that there is no deep stone involved in the Sword of Sanctuary. It is definitive, and that is just how it is. But the thing is that Ronan was able to use it to cut apart the Preeminent, and Moro nearly killed Cole with it. So, how does this sword be able to have the effects of deep stone without actually being deep stone? Well, I would like to present one idea, which is that the first Spinjitzu Master, once he saw Quanish with this sword, maybe he asked a certain elemental master of water to imbue the sword at least a little bit. And that is when he asked Niad to actually imbue the weapon. Because here's the thing, we know that the first Spinjitzu Master and Niad did encounter each other at some point in time. And they clearly had some sort of respect for each other because, well, the first Spinjitzu Master helped with the destruction or the dormancy of Wojira. But here's the thing, maybe as a thank you, maybe Niad decided to help the first Spinjitzu Master and imbue one of the weapons with the abilities of water. And that, in my opinion, is mostly the only way I could explain away it. Because you could look at it as the idea that the Sword of Sanctuary was made with the same gold from the Golden Peaks, and that is how it would be able to retain an elemental ability. So it's unofficially a Sword of Water. But that is a complete speculation and one that I don't have much backing on it, so feel free to discuss it. But for the most part, that is my explanation for how it could affect the ghosts. But like I said, those are my theories regarding the Sword of Sanctuary, and let me know what you do think of them, because I do think it provides more of an idea when it comes to this weapon. And to be honest, while my harming ghosts theory isn't the most grounded in evidence, I will say I do think I have a very strong case to imply that Quanish was the original owner of the Sword of Sanctuary. And let me know if you do agree with me or not when it comes to it. But like I said guys, that is about it for this video, and let me know if there's any other weapons or items or locations in Ninjago that you would like me to talk about and discuss some theories about it. But that is about it guys, thank you for watching, take care, okay,